My fondest memories were from growing up by the coast. My family and I lived in a small house near the beach. The waves helped make my days fun, and their gentle songs soothed me to sleep at night. There was a particularly strange day when I heard an urban legend about the mysterious deep blue. It was in an area not far from my home, a place no one dared to venture far in. The waters had seemingly gone unexplored for years. I never saw a soul there. The rumors somewhat bothered me, since a girl I once knew vanished there. People said if you swim in those waters, you won't return. This myth became widespread very quickly, but I didn't pay much attention to it. I would come down near the forbidden beach occasionally, observing from a distance. There would usually be some teens huddled around watching our brave friend test the myth, swimming far out into the dark waters. They never seemed to shimmer or glisten like the rest of the ocean, too dark to see through. I paid no mind to the loud, rambunctious kids. I mainly came to reminisce in memories of the girl who had disappeared here. She was a gentle soul, always smiling, always caring for others. I couldn't recall an instant where she didn't put others before herself. She was there for me when I needed her help. I just wish I could have saved her that awful night she perished. Her presence had disappeared without a trace, leaving us to presume she was dead. I used to have a strong passion for surfing, but ever since her death, I had developed a bitter hatred for these waters and abandoned my wave-riding ways. The ocean and I were no longer one. I managed to distract myself with training Pokemon. Since I tried to stray my focus from the deep blue, I moved closer to the main population and primarily trained grass and fire-type Pokemon, such as Magmar and Weepinbell. I became indulged in the life of the big city, investing into a small house with a beautiful garden, pushing away the grim memories of the lethal waters. My grass Pokemon, Ivysaur, Vileplume, and Weepinbell, enjoyed the sweet aromas of the magnolia blossoms and passion vines I had grown myself. The backyard my garden resided in made for a great training area they could be comfortable in. For my fire Pokemon, Growlithe, Magmar, and Ninetales, I would take them to the edge of a nearby solar power plant my friend worked at. He suggested it when he saw I had some fire Pokemon. They enjoyed the warm, arid environment, and there was plenty of vacant space for them to exercise in. Things were going very well away from the beach. But then one morning I noticed some posters had spread across the town, reporting a missing teenager. I recognized her as one of the kids who had been venturing near the forbidden waters. I continued on my way, not thinking much of it, investing the day into adding some new sweet pea flowers to my garden and training my grass Pokemon. Things seemed at peace, although there was some slight discomfort. The image of the missing girl's poster was still fresh in my mind as I lay in bed that night. An unusual flicker of color caught my eye after a while. I rose from my bed to look out the window at an ominous red light. From this distance it was so small it resembled a mere star. I assumed it was a traffic light and returned to bed. I wondered if something lurked below those waters that may have caused the disappearance, but only briefly. Then I pushed it away from my thoughts and drifted into slumber. A few days later, I noticed a small group of police forces moving toward the coast. Onlookers had gathered around to watch. I followed as they headed towards the beach and stopped by the forbidden waters, setting up no crossing tape. The one who seemed to be the leader held up a megaphone, announcing that the area was no longer available to the public, and that 3 people vanished last night near these waters. 2 police officers would be securing said location until further notice. My heart sank. I went home wondering what had happened to the victims and where they were. Not feeling very safe for the rest of the day, I would look over my shoulder once in a while and keep my trusty Growlithe by my side if I went out. I had trouble focusing while training my Pokemon that evening. They seemed to notice and became a bit frustrated with me. I apologized and tried my best to concentrate, but my mind was lost in a sea of questions about the disappearances. That night I decided to leave Growlithe out of its Pokeball to help guard the house. Perhaps I was taking this a bit too far, but I was never one to take chances. Growlithe sat by my bed, which helped put me at ease and allowed me to fall asleep without many worries. I awoke abruptly to find Growlithe by the window, growling loudly at something. I nervously rose from bed and hurried over to see what the trouble was. I saw nothing outside, feeling confused until I saw the tiny red star of light in the distance. This time I knew it wasn't from a traffic light. It glowed with an unnatural brightness, almost painful to gaze at. Putting on some street clothes and bringing a flashlight, I quickly pursued the light to discover its source. I gradually found it was coming from the ocean, near the shore. I broke out into a rapid sprint to greet it. Reaching the beach, I was immediately stopped by the 2 police officers. I protested that something was there as my growlith bared its teeth and growled at the water. It stopped as the small beam of red light faded below the surface. They told me to go home, seeming rather annoyed. I returned to my house, certain I had seen something. That night was a restless one for me. I just had to know what the source of that mysterious light was. Eventually, I managed to fall into a troubled slumber, my heart pounding with anxiety and a hint of fear. I was woken by Growlithe once again. This time it was barking loudly and scratching at the window. Peering outside, I could see the light once more. My overwhelming curiosity got the best of me again. Growlithe led the way as we raced towards the shore as fast as our feet would take us. We came to a screeching halt as we discovered the policemen were no longer there. Their officer hats lay in the sand near the forbidden waters. The glowing light did not shy away into the night this time. Growlithe's throat rumbled with a low growl as it neared the water. It let out a frightened whimper as the light grew stronger. I was about to step by it when over a dozen long tentacles rose from the water. Pointing directly at me, they lunged forward, but Growlithe leapt into action and attacked, its ferocious growl returning as it bit into the tentacles aggressively. They easily overpowered the animal and submerged it under the surface. I quickly dove in after Growlithe to find it unconscious, a tentacruel holding it firmly. I felt another set of tentacles tighten around my limbs, and my body being dragged down to a dark figure as I gasped for air. I stopped struggling when I saw it was the little girl I knew who had died years ago. The red glow was coming from a red crystal attached to her forehead. The tentacles that had attacked Growlithe were stemming from her scalp. Her body appeared to have endured some decay, bearing a sickly green hue. Some kind of transparent purple gel protected it from further decomposition. Her eyes were blank, lacking pupils and irises. As the gel surrounded my body and I miraculously sucked in precious air, I heard her voice call out to me.
This will preserve your tainted life for a short while.
Her body glided closer as I noticed Growlithe was being taken deeper into the water. "Where are they going with Growlithe?" I asked.
Where all the others go, below, to be reborn. There is no questioning the will of the Tentacruel.
Tentacruel? But you're a girl, I said, confused.
Was. This body is a vessel possessed by a dying Tentacruel. We will use the bodies of others to become immortal.
Her face appeared to be blank, void of life or expression. We? What do you mean, we? I noticed a swarm of red dots slowly appearing in the distance. Dark shapes followed, gradually revealing dozens of tentacle-bearing human bodies. They all looked just as lifeless and decayed as her.
You should be thanking us. We will give you a new life. A better one.
You can't do this, I declared, raising my voice.
Humans have no value. Your time is now ours. Become us. Become one.
An ordinary tentacruel appeared to the girl's left, gazing directly at me.
Do not be afraid. Death is only a moment of pain.
The tentacruel burst through the gel, pulling my body into the darkness below. I panicked as my mouth sucked in water, desperate for air. I could feel my heart pounding harder than ever, an overwhelming pain in my chest. And then my pulse began to slow as I grew dazed and drowsy. There was a sense of peace in my body. I had never felt so relaxed before. There was no more pain. I was facing upwards, looking at the surface. The last thing I saw before my eyes closed was the moon, which grew smaller as I descended into a watery abyss.